Hello and very warm welcome at Amish Shackle 5858. I am Amish Shackle. Following news have been reported by American, European, Asian, African, Australian news channels and the news agencies. So please, let's go to the headlines.
Breaking news, the new video, those two lawmakers shot, their spouses shot too. Two dead, the new images of the suspect at their door disguised as an officer wearing that realistic latex mask. Also tonight, Diane Sawyer is here, the first television interview with Grey's Anatomy star Eric Dane amid his battle with ALS. First tonight, the suspect in the deadly shootings, two lawmakers and their spouses all shot, two dead. The suspect, Vance Bolter, now facing state and federal charges tonight. Prosecutors calling it the stuff of nightmares, that he stalked his prey. And now we learn of the reported list, and that the suspect, a husband and father, allegedly went to 4 homes that night. Surveillance allegedly showing the suspect disguised as an armed police officer wearing that latex mask, banging on the door. And what's now been found tonight. Also on this Monday night, the deadly flash flooding sweeping right into an apartment building, part of the building collapsing. At least 6 people now dead from the floods, others still missing tonight. Cars underwater, and now severe storms in the middle of the country moving right into the northeast. Lee Goldberg has the forecast. Overseas tonight, the escalating war between Israel and Iran tonight. Israel targeting Iran state TV live on the air. Anchors running from the set, Iran striking residential apartments inside Israel. And tonight, our Jonathan Karl right here, one-on-one with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And John asks Netanyahu if they will target Iran's supreme leader. That answer making global headlines tonight. Back in the U.S., breaking news in the case of actor Matthew Perry, what the Justice Department just revealed tonight. In New York City, the terrifying scene at the courthouse. Surveillance showing the moment 2 court officers are slashed at the metal detectors. And the Diane Sawyer exclusive tonight. Diane with Grey's Anatomy star Eric Dane. His role, those iconic scenes known by millions of fans. Tonight here, his emotional first television interview since revealing his battle with ALS. What he can no longer move and what he fears next. And the most important thing for him now in this deeply personal fight. From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Today.
All right, this is a Fox News alert. Back to our top story of the night. President Donald Trump calling on Iranian civilians to, quote, immediately evacuate Tehran. Our own Lawrence Jones reporting that the president has requested that the NSC be prepared in the Situation Room when he returns to Washington sometime early this morning. Here with more is Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton. When he says they should evacuate Tehran now, how do you interpret that, Senator? I know how I interpret it.
Well, Sean, I think it, one, reflects President Trump's concern for innocent civilian life. Iran has terrorized the United States and Israel and the civilized world since 1979. That's the real forever war. But they've also terrorized their own people. The Iranian people have been the victims of the Iranian Revolution for 46 years, and their government has placed key military sites throughout the capital. President Trump, just like Prime Minister Netanyahu, does not want to see innocent Iranian civilians harmed. That's why the Israeli Defense Forces give them advance notice before they strike. That's the difference between Israel and the United States on the one hand and Iran, which intentionally targets residential neighborhoods to slaughter women and children, just like it's intentionally targeted Americans, to include American soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan, to kill them and to terrorize them.
It seems like we're on the precipice of eliminating their nuclear capability and nuclear program forever, and them being, of course, the #1 state sponsor of terror. They may need a joint operation to do so. What are your thoughts on that?
I think President Trump is right not to rule out any option and to maintain flexibility while we back Israel to the hilt. You're right, Sean, that the key objective here is to eliminate Iran's nuclear weapons program and their ability to enrich uranium. The secondary objective, of course, is to eliminate their ballistic missile threat to Israel and to our troops in the region, and ultimately, within just a few short years, the United States on the trajectory they were on. I don't know exactly
Tonight, they're calling him a political assassin. The new images of his disguise and his armor. Officials say this is the face of evil. Suspect Vance Bolter now facing federal murder charges. Allegedly armed with at least 3 AK-47 assault rifles. We're learning that he traveled to the homes of 4 Minnesota state lawmakers dressed as a police officer wearing this hyper-realistic silicone mask. Our Maggie Vespa with an eyewitness who says she spotted the suspect in a field and alerted police. Also breaking tonight, the new tornado threat in the Midwest. It comes after 6 people were killed, swept away by floodwaters in West Virginia, a 3-year-old among them. We're on the scene as the rain returns tonight, and millions are under flood watches nationwide. Plus, missiles fly over Iran and Israel. The strike, then inferno at an Iranian fuel depot. Israel also targeting Iran state TV, a broadcaster on air running amid falling debris. With the death toll rising on both sides, can a deal be made? Richard Engel on the ground tonight. The sudden stabbing attack at a New York City courthouse caught on camera. This just in, a doctor charged in Matthew Perry's overdose death now agreeing to plead guilty to distributing ketamine. The revolt in Europe at some of the biggest tourist destinations on the planet. The Louvre shut and tourists soaked with squirt guns told to cool off their travel. And the smiles and the snacks, why good grades have kids from all over running to this convenience store. Nightly News starts right now.
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Yamas.
And good evening. Officials are describing the killings in Minnesota as political.
Canada on the world stage this Monday night. Leaders gather in Kananaskis, Alberta. What's on the agenda?
Mr. President, welcome to Canada.
And what happened when the U.S. President met Canada's Prime Minister one-on-one?
I'm a tariff person. I've always been a tariff. Simple, it's easy.
Israel and Iran escalate their attacks, leaving the world on edge. Our Mike Armstrong is in Jordan tonight. And the manhunt is over.
These crimes are the stuff of nightmares.
How police caught a Minnesota man accused of assassinating a lawmaker and plotting to kill dozens of others.
Global National with Donna Friesen, reporting tonight from Banff, Alberta.
We are in the Rocky Mountains, the stunning vistas of Kananaskis, Alberta, a beautiful backdrop for world leaders meeting at this G7 summit, where Canada's Prime Minister is at the head of the table and has high expectations.
We will have open, frank
Canada on the world stage this Monday night. Leaders gather in Kananaskis, Alberta. What's on the agenda?
Mr. President, welcome to Canada.
And what happened when the U.S. President met Canada's Prime Minister one-on-one?
I'm a tariff person. I've always been a tariff. Simple, it's easy.
Israel and Iran escalate their attacks, leaving the world on edge. Our Mike Armstrong is in Jordan tonight. And the manhunt is over.
These crimes are the stuff of nightmares.
How police caught a Minnesota man accused of assassinating a lawmaker and plotting to kill dozens of others.
Global National with Donna Friesen, reporting tonight from Banff, Alberta.
We are in the Rocky Mountains, the stunning vistas of Kananaskis, Alberta, a beautiful backdrop for world leaders meeting at this G7 summit, where Canada's Prime Minister is at the head of the table and has high expectations.
We will have open, frank discussions over the course of the next 2 days. We might not agree on absolutely every issue, but where we will cooperate, we will make an enormous difference for our citizens and for the world.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. We are in...
Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Fighting between Israel and Iran entered a 4th day after Israel launched a sweeping, unprovoked attack to start a war between the 2 most powerful militaries in the Middle East. Since Friday, Israel's assassinated 9 Iranian nuclear scientists, along with key figures in Iran's military and intelligence leadership, including the intelligence chief and deputy intelligence chief of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, who was killed Sunday. Earlier today, Israel struck the command center leader of Iran's Quds Force. Iran's health ministry reports a total of 224 people have been killed and 1,400 injured in Israeli attacks in Iran, with the majority of victims reported to be civilians. Iran responded by launching a wave of missile attacks on Tel Aviv, Haifa, and other Israeli cities, killing at least 24 people and injuring more than 500. One missile reportedly fell near the U.S. Embassy. Israel attacked Iran Friday, just 2 days before the U.S. and Iran were scheduled to hold another round of nuclear talks. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi accused Israel of sabotage.
It is no exaggeration to say that his crimes are the stuff of nightmares.
Prosecutors accuse Vance Belter of meticulously planning the assassination of Minnesota lawmakers.
Belter faces federal and state charges of murder and attempted murder.
It's a chilling attack on our democracy, on our way of life.
From CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News.
Good evening, I'm John Dickerson.
I'm Maurice Dubois.
A federal prosecutor today laid out what he called the chilling details of the alleged plot by Vance Belter to assassinate Minnesota lawmakers, and he revealed Belter showed up over the weekend at the homes of 4 legislators in all.
He is charged with the murder of State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband, and the attempted murder of State Senator John Huffman and his wife.
Notebooks were found.
Is going and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Only on TV News, the People's Channel.
Good morning. The establishment is forced to confront the sheer scale of Britain's grooming gang scandal.
Baroness Casey's damning review triggers Labour to launch a national inquiry. She spoke to our very own Charlie Peters about the findings.
Any kid growing up now who's 13, 14 and 15, people do to them what they did historically. They'll be done for rape. No ifs, no buts, no excuses.
But will those in power confront difficult truths in the pursuit of justice for young women and girls?
They identify clear evidence of overrepresentation among suspects of Asian and Pakistani heritage men, and she refers to examples of organisations avoiding the topic altogether for fear of appearing racist or raising community tensions.
Where US President Donald Trump leaves the G7 in Canada early before taking to social media to blast French President Emmanuel Macron as, quote, publicity-seeking, adding that Macron always gets it wrong.
Well, that's after the much-anticipated UK-US trade deal is finally signed in Canada as Sir Starmer Donald Trump attended G7, but it doesn't go entirely to plan.
We all know the great Prime Minister of the UK, and we just signed a document. This is sorry about that. Very important. A little windy out here. Give it that.
Call it the greatest show on turf. The royal family put on a show at Ascot as the annual horse racing festival begins.
Have you ever heard of snus? Well, it's a tobacco pouch, and it's become something of a phenomenon amongst British teenagers. We're investigating just that and debating whether there should be a ban on advertising all tobacco products.
And meet the 15-year-old sumo wrestler. Yes, sumo wrestler headed to Japan in the hopes of making Britain proud. We'll be meeting him at 7:20.
And sport this morning, Chelsea begin their World Club Cup campaign with a win, but there wasn't that many people there to see it. Gareth Bale is involved with Americans who want to take over an English football club. That before, and it was Groundhog Day for Lewis Hamilton at Sunday's Canadian Grand Prix, and not in a good way either, especially for the groundhog.
It's going to be very warm and sunny across many parts of the south today. Further north, a bit more changeable. I'll have the details coming up.
It's just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Millie Costello.
And I'm Ben Leo, and this is GB News Breakfast.
This is Asia Now.
It's 2 p.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 11:30 in New Delhi, 1 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Grace Shin, and at this hour, G7 leaders call for a de-escalation in the Middle East, reaffirming Israel's right to self-defense and labeling Iran as a source of regional instability. Donald Trump shuts down allegations that he cut his G7 trip short to work on a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. Oil prices up in Asian trade as traders watch the escalating hostilities between Israel and Iran.
I'm Roland Lim at Energy Asia in Kuala Lumpur. Despite the push for renewables, forecasts often show that sustained oil and gas demand in Asia is for years to come. We hear from leading market researcher, Energy Intelligence, on their perspective.
And Chinese President Xi Jinping looks to forge stronger economic partnerships with Central Asian leaders and a key summit in Kazakhstan.
Good morning, it's 7 o'clock on today's show. Donald Trump leaves the G7 summit early and takes a swipe at France's Emmanuel Macron in the process.
Emmanuel always gets it wrong, says the president. He has no idea why I am on my way to Washington, but it has nothing to do with a ceasefire.
It is Tuesday, the 17th of June. Your headlines. US President Donald Trump exits the G7 summit saying he's working on something much bigger than a ceasefire.
Iran has fired a barrage of missiles at Israel this morning. In the last few minutes, we saw interceptions in the skies above us here in Jerusalem, and there are reports coming in of impacts around Tel Aviv.
A signed, sealed, and at least partially delivered, the Prime Minister hails a trade deal with the US as a sign of strength. A very good morning to you. The US President Donald Trump has left the G7 summit.
Liberté, égalité, actualité.
Hello and a very warm welcome. If you're just joining us, you're watching Daybreak here on France 24. These are the headlines. A fifth day of deadly fire between Israel and Iran begins. Air raid signs ringing out over Tel Aviv. So far, no reports of missiles landing in Israel as yet this Tuesday. In Iran, meanwhile, the strike on the national broadcaster, the latest major strike there. Leaders at the G7 summit issue a joint statement supporting Israel, saying it has the right to defend itself and saying that Iran is the source of instability. The leaders calling for a ceasefire there and across the Middle East, including in Gaza. US President Donald Trump staying to sign that statement before leaving the summit early. He warned everyone in Tehran to evacuate. Meanwhile, the war in Gaza continues, with the health ministry there reporting the deadliest day at the food distribution sites. At least 34 people shot dead as they tried to collect some vital supplies. The Red Cross Field Hospital saying it treated around 200 people injured at the same site. Glad you could join us. Also coming up, it's day 2 of the Paris Air Show, that biannual gathering of aerospace leaders. Big business, but among the issues being questioned this year as those economic deals are being met is the environmental cost of the sector. Some potential solutions are starting to be presented, but they remain in their early experimental days.
Today, G7 leaders call for a de-escalation in the Middle East as Donald Trump departs Canada early for emergency talks in Washington. Meanwhile, traffic jams on the streets of Tehran with more than 300,000 people warned of an imminent attack. Queensland police confirm remains found in bushland are those of missing teenager Phoebe Bishop. A Tasmanian police officer killed in the line of duty, named as 57-year-old Constable Keith Anthony Smith. And shares in Santos surge on the back of a multi-billion-dollar takeover bid for the energy giant. Hello, welcome to ABC News. I'm Ros Childs. US President Donald Trump and his...
Africa News. The news.
Donald Lisa will be his own lawyer in a case where he faces the death penalty if convicted. A court in Dar es Salaam on Monday granted his request after he argued that prison authorities had denied him a chance to consult his lawyers in private. Lisa was arrested on April 9 and charged with treason after addressing a public rally calling for electoral reforms. Tanzania will hold a general election in October. Lisa's Chadema party has criticized the Electoral Commission for lacking independence. It has also denounced regulations which it says favor the ruling Chama Cha Mapinduzi party. Human rights activists have accused Tanzania's government, led by President Samia Suluhu, of heavy-handed tactics against the opposition. If implemented, the new measures would mean nearly 40 African countries face bans or some form of travel restrictions to the United States. An internal State Department cable cites reasons such as unreliable identity documents, passport security, and the refusal or unwillingness by some countries to receive deported nationals, Reuters reported Sunday. Other reasons listed in the cable are terrorism and involvement in anti-Semitic and anti-American activity. Overall, the document names 12 grounds to justify travel restrictions against 36 countries total. The list includes major U.S. partners on the continent such as Kenya, Angola, Egypt, Ethiopia, Ivory Coast, and Nigeria. The affected countries have 60 days within which to address Washington's concerns, lest they face partial or full travel bans. As Somalia and Sudan also placed heightened restrictions on travel from Burundi, Sierra Leone, and Togo.
The Paris Air Show only just kicked off in the French capital Monday, but it's already causing controversy after organisers ordered Israeli offensive weapons displays to be covered up. Black cameras now conceal several Israeli booths after the defense ministry refused to comply with France's ban on showcasing offensive military gear from the country. The Israeli defense ministry called it outrageous and unprecedented, accusing France of using politics and of protecting its own defense industry. The decision comes as Israel faces growing international criticism over its war in Gaza and the fresh conflict with Iran. France had warned weeks ago that offensive between France and Israel.
Looking into China, personifying the growing economic cooperation between China and Africa. Some like Halifa Diop have found a fertile ground in the Hunan province. He founded the Mali Business Center to mentor Chinese and Malian businesses. No matter how big a company grows, it can only solve problems for a limited group of people. But engaging in projects and industrialization can benefit an entire nation's future. Success doesn't need to bear my name. I'll keep doing my part in collaboration between Hunan and Africa, now and in the future. I'll support my children in carrying this mission forward. Hunan's free trade zone has allowed international entrepreneurs to start startups like Ojo Rachal from Benin. His firm exports Chinese engineering machinery, agricultural products, cash oil in China. Thanks to the visa policy, I can get the startup visa in the richest company here. That's been the biggest help. Now, extending any project I want to work on is convenient. When people I would want to Chinese and African representatives celebrated this bilateral cooperation during the 4th China-Africa Economic and Trade Expo last week.
Africa has everything China needs. China has everything Africa needs. As in Africa, a huge deficit in terms of electricity. So we have been able to sign 2 strategic contracts now. One is solar, the second is agriculture. So we, by these 2 projects, we want to look for the engagement of Chinese and African youth together to collaborate in knowledge sharing.
Thank you very much for giving time to Amir Shackle 5858. I am Amir Shackle. Have a good life. Bye-bye.